Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good Shabbos. Welcome to the 1st of March is Kabbalat Shabbat. And for any of our friends and family who might be Welsh, happy St. David's Day as well. And I'm now going to pass over to Morris, who's going to give us a nice Devar Torah.
I'll try my best. Yeah. I'm sure we've all played the game of Chinese whispers, where a phrase is passed on by word of mouth, and then the original and destination phrases are compared, probably found to be dealing with two separate topics. This change of content is highlighted in the annals of military folklore and the story of the supposed orders being sent by a British unit in World War I that was sent as "send reinforcements, we're going to advance," but received by headquarters as "send 3 informants, we're going to advance." This being the case, it's fair to assume that over a period between the recording of the original version of the Torah and the production of the final version, the version we have today, there will be some drift in content, a change of emphasis, or just change for change's sake. The oldest Hebrew manuscript in the Torah was the Masoretic texts, such as the Aleppo Codex. Today, the oldest known extant manuscript of the Masoretic text date from approximately the 9th century CE. So where does this leave us? Having accepted the Masoretic text as the authoritative biblical text, are we content that the text is correct, however small the shadow of doubt? Time marches on, and we skip from the 9th century forward to 1946. In late 1946 or early 1947, the Bedouin teenagers were tending their goats and sheep near the ancient settlement of Qumran, located on the northwest shore of the Dead Sea. One of the shepherds tossed a rock into the opening in the side of a cliff and was surprised to hear a shattering sound. He and his companions entered the cave and found a collection of large clay jars, several of which contained leather and papyrus scrolls. An antiquities dealer bought the cache, for which ultimately ended up in the hands of various scholars who estimated that the texts were upwards of 2,000 years old. After word of the discovery got out, Bedouin treasure hunters and archaeologists unearthed tens of thousands of additional scroll fragments from 10 nearby caves. Together, they make up between 800 and 900 manuscripts, known collectively as the Dead Sea Scrolls. The biblical manuscripts found amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls push the date of the oldest known biblical manuscript back a full 1,000 years to the 2nd century BCE. This was a significant discovery for Old Testament scholars who anticipated that the Dead Sea Scrolls would either affirm or repudiate the reliability of textual transmission of the original text to the oldest Masoretic text at hand. Examination of the scrolls demonstrated an unusual accuracy of transmission over a 1,000-year period, rendering it reasonable to believe that current Old Testament texts are reliable copies of the original works. According to the Dead Sea Scrolls by Hebrew scholar Miller Burrows, of the 166 words in Isaiah, there are only 17 letters in question. 10 of these letters are simply a matter of spelling, which does not affect the sense. 4 more letters are minor stylistic changes, such as conjunctions. The remaining 3 letters comprise the word light, which is added in verse 11, and does not greatly affect the meaning. Dead Sea Scrolls have taken biblical scholarship to a new era, where much of what was previously believed can now be confirmed, and some of what was accepted as fact should now be re-examined so biblical texts can correspond precisely with what was originally written. Because of their faithfulness, we have today a form of Hebrew text which, judging from common experience, goes back to an authoritative version of the Old Testament text, which was drawn up on the basis of the most reliable manuscripts available for collation from the previous centuries. As W.F. Allwright has said, we may rest assured that the consonantal text of the Hebrew Bible, though not infallible, has been preserved with an accuracy perhaps unparalleled in any other Near Eastern literature. There are 225 biblical texts included in the Dead Sea Scroll documents. Dead Sea contains parts of all but one of the books of the Tanakh. Megillah Esther has not yet been found, and scholars believe it is missing because, as a Jew, a marriage to a Persian king may have been looked down upon by the inhabitants of Qumran, or because Purim is not included in the Qumran calendar. Anathesis Yeshua Samuel, the Syrian Orthodox Archbishop of Jerusalem, bought 4 of the original Dead Sea Scrolls from a cobbler who dabbled in antiquities, paying less than $100. When the Arab-Israeli War broke out in 1948, Samuel traveled to the United States and unsuccessfully offered them to a number of universities, including Yale. Finally, in 1954, he placed an advertisement in the Wall Street Journal under the category Miscellaneous Items for Sale that read, "Biblical manuscripts dating back at least to at least 200 BCE are for sale. This would be an ideal gift to an education or religious institution by an individual or group." Israeli archaeologist Yigdal Yadin, whose father had obtained the other 3 scrolls from the initial collection in 1947, secretly negotiated their purchase on behalf of the newly established State of Israel. Unfortunately for Samuel, much of the $250,000 he received went to the US Internal Revenue Service, since the bill of sale had not been properly drawn up. One of the most intriguing manuscripts from Qumran is a copper scroll, the sort of ancient treasure map which lists dozens of gold and silver caches. Whilst the other texts are written in ink on parchment or animal skins, this curious document features Hebrew and Greek letters etched into metal sheets, perhaps, as some have theorized, to better withstand the passage of time. Using an unconventional vocabulary and not spelling, the copper scroll describes 64 hiding places around Israel that purportedly contain riches stashed for safekeeping. None of these hoards have been recovered, possibly because the Roman pillaged Judea during the 1st century CE. According to various hypotheses, treasures belong to the local Essenes, who spirited it out of the Second Temple before its destruction. Or perhaps they never existed to begin with. As is in the tradition in the Middle East, if there is a possibility for an argument, there will be an argument. In this case, the argument revolves around our own Dead Sea, who owns the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Palestinian National Authority, which did not exist at the time of the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Jordanian government, whose land borders did not encompass the area where the scrolls were found, have contested Israel's claim to ownership of the scrolls, which were discovered northwest of the Dead Sea during the late 1940s and early 50s. After the Ottoman Empire dissolved during World War I, the area became part of the British Mandate. Under a white onion-shaped dome in Jerusalem, down a dimly lit corridor and staircase, there is a circular display within which there is a book of Joshua, a scroll unwound to allow reading of the Hebrew words. The parchment is frayed and bits are missing, but most of the words are perfectly legible. This is the shrine of the book, the depository of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I understand that these are not the Dead Sea Scrolls, but a facsimile. Original of this and others are held securely elsewhere. However, it was quite an eye-opener when I first saw the scroll of Joshua and realized that I was able to read this ancient document. We're privileged to be able to both read and understand an ancient language, but also to be able to prove our heritage goes back so far. Shabbat Shalom.
Very good. Thank
Kai,
you. Yeah.
Thank you, Morris. That was very interesting to know about all our words are always true. Okay, so it's now time for Kabbalat Shabbat, and I invite the Rabbi to lead us in Kabbalat Shabbat.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Morris, firstly, thank you very much for your Devar Torah. I hope you don't mind if I just remember a few years ago in Glasgow when I was a rabbi up in Glasgow, the Dead Sea Scrolls came up. I don't know how but they moved them up. And one of the most fascinating things that was there were tefillin from 2,000 years old. And
Mhm.
it's an unbelievable thing. You know, I put on tefillin every day, and so do you. And it's a wonderful thing to know that we've been doing this for quite a number of years.
They have examples of these tefillin on the corridor that goes down to where the scrolls are on display
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the Shrine of the Book.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. One could give a talk about the tefillin themselves because they're slightly different than the ones that we wear today, which is quite interesting.
Well, I don't know if you noticed over my right shoulder, there's a picture of tefillin.
Is that over your right shoulder? Go on, turn around. Show me.
Let me come back.
Let me make you big. Let me make you big. Can you make you big?
I'm going to place a spotlight for a moment.
What?
My right shoulder. Can you
Okay.
see
Let me put you on speaker. Hold on. Yeah, go on. Oh, yeah.
my right shoulder? There's a strip of Hebrew writing, and that's said a tefillin there. The story associated with that.
Which tefillin are they? Whose tefillin are they?
They're my father's.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's so nice. Lovely. Very nice.
Well, one day I'll tell you the story about them.
Yeah, sometime. But the fantastic thing is that you can say, I mean, they're not in the condition, those tefillin are not in the condition that we have today, but it's just interesting to see those tefillin from 2,000 years ago. Yeah. And it's exactly what you said. We've been there. We've been there. Can I share screen of one or two clips? Is that okay? Is that okay with everybody?